If people, welcome everybody. This is the Academy Chat for the National Association of Academies of Science. It's January 23rd, right before a gigantic winter storm, probably for a lot of us. And very happy to see you all today. I love ending my weeks on a Friday, seeing my colleagues all across the country. It puts me in a good mood at the end of Friday. So I really love these events. Um, I'm Amanda Fuller. I'm the past president of the NAAS, and we will go around and everybody can introduce themselves in just a minute here. But I want to just say a few words for those who are maybe newer to this series and don't join as often. I'll just give you a little background about what these sessions are and where you can find a little more information. We've been doing these virtual sessions for about 5 years now. And for some of you who have joined before, um, you maybe have experienced this. It's a great, kind of peer-to-peer learning series where leaders of state academies and regional academies of science share information and learn from each other. And just really glad that we can keep these going and happy for all of you who join us for these. If you are newer or if you want to go back and review past sessions, we do record all of them and you can find them at our website at academiesofscience.org under programs, under Academy Chats. So invite all of you to go back and look at past sessions. Because of the topic today about these strategic planning grants, one that you may be particularly interested in looking back at, if you didn't join us in December, we heard from folks who were the recipients of the last grant cycle in 2025, and those recipients presented about their experience with the exact grants that we're going to be talking about today. So if you're interested in learning more about the strategic planning grants and you didn't join us in December, I would invite you to go back and look at that one in particular. Okay, so should we just go around and do introductions?
Can I can I add one
Yeah,
thing to the intros? I think
yes,
it would be
please.
lovely to hear if your state's interested. There's multiple people from the same state, so feel free to pick a point person. But if you're interested in applying, and kind of if you're on the fence, so we can dictate some content based on that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hallie. Um, I will first throw it to Donna Girardi, our president of the NAS. Donna, if you want to start the round of introductions.
Sure. Hi, I'm Donna Girardi. I am the current president of NAAS, have been for a year and will be for another, and really glad that you're here. I live in Washington State. I was the executive director of the Washington State Academy of Sciences. Now I am a director of a program in Washington State University. And anybody who knows me knows that I often say that states are where the action is. And so I'm really, really glad that you are all here and interested in learning more about us.
Great. People just pop in, tell us where you're from and why you're here.
I'll start. I'm Craig Group I'm a professor at the University of Virginia, and I'm the president-elect for the Virginia Academy of Science. Jonathan Tolbert's our new executive officer as of May last year. He's connected, but he can't talk because he's in a classroom right now. And Susan Booth is the director of our junior Virginia Academy of Science. And she's also connected, but she said she couldn't talk either. So I'm the only one in Virginia who can talk, but I have a bad voice, so I can barely talk. We're definitely interested in one of these planning grants. I was interested last year. At the time, we were kind of undergoing an audit, and we had no executive officer. And I was encouraged to wait for a year and see if we were in a better place to deal with that. And now, Jonathan's been with us for about 8 months, maybe, and our academy's working to put together a handbook that we never had before, and we're trying to get our finances in order, and we're really trying to get our foundation strong. So I think we might be in a position to really take advantage of this right now.
Great. Why don't we go on to Alay?
I currently serving as the secretary of So also serving for the president-elect from NCS. And technically I took over so this year for NAS. I had a discuss with the board member for NCS. They told me they are interested. So that's the reason I'm here today, try to learn something, and especially how to apply for this grant. And then if I necessary, so I'll like be coached. Okay, so I'd
Okay.
like to ask you guys if you have some examples of previous years, so we can have a reference, and hopefully we can submit our application before the deadline. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Philip.
Hello, everybody. My name is Philip Winchell. I'm the archivist of the NAAS, and I also work a lot with the American Junior Academy of Science as an event planner. I am in Dayton, Ohio, and I am just happy to log on to these Academy chats to try to better understand what's going on out in the world. And this sign says it all.
Thank you, Philip. I think you have some fellow travelers on that one. Christopher Osgood.
Yeah, hi. I'm sorry, I just got in.
Oh,
Doing
we're
it-
just doing intros.
Yeah, I would have introduced him if I knew he was here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For some reason I couldn't get my iPhone to connect. Anyway, but I'm the current president of the Virginia Academy of Sciences. We also have a junior academy, and I know our director, Susan Booth, is on as well. And we're just interested in knowing what we could potentially do with you folks to help us improve our operation. So I really have no clue exactly what to expect today, but I think it's going to be very useful.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming. Brad Peterson.
Hello, Brad Peterson. I am the past president of the Nebraska Academy of Sciences. I was president last year. Let's see, and we just got status as a 501c3 public charity, whereas previously we had been a 501c3 private foundation. So we need to move more of our revenue away from endowments and things like that. So a grant would be a good thing for us at this time.
Great. So I'll move over to another Nebraskan, Carrie Schnasberger.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Carrie Snazy Burge. I'm the executive director of the Nebraska Academy of Sciences. And just to follow up kind of on what Brad was saying, we've been very active in sort of changing our programming in the Nebraska Academy of Sciences. We've started a teacher speak-in series. Just had one on vaccines this last week at a member college at Creighton, and we're doing field trips. 5 years ago, we had a strategic planning meeting where we sort of laid out what we wanted to do. And as part of that, we wanted to come back in 5 years and conduct another one. So as it turns out, the timing is just right for us to have folks come in and tell us what we're doing right and what we can improve upon and, where our academy goes from here. So that's our interest in all of this.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. And next time, I promise I will pronounce your last name correctly. Okay, let's move to New Mexico. David Schultz and Deb Thrall.
I am Dave Schultz. I'm the past president of the
Here
New
we
Mexico
are.
Academy of Science. And what I do for work that passes as work is done at Sandia National Laboratory here in Albuquerque. And I will just say I've enjoyed the last 2 years of all of these chats and appreciate the positive reinforcement I get from Amanda and our emails as well. Thank you so much for that, and I'm sure that we'll benefit from that in the future. Deb?
Hi, I'm Deb Thrall. I was able to sit in back in December and I learned so much. It was just incredible. So we have a board meeting coming off tomorrow, and Dave and I were talking about the fact that we really need to be at this meeting today to share things with our board. And I am the current president of NMAS. So glad to see all of you again, and you can see me writing copious notes on what you're saying, trying to get us up to speed here in New Mexico. And it's cold, but it's not as cold as Ohio, but we are expecting some snow, which in New Mexico is always welcome. Send us your moisture, please. We'll take it. So thanks.
Great. All right. Hope I don't miss anybody. I'm going to skip over to Kentucky now. Marilyn Akins. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yep, you did. Yay. Kentucky, obviously. The president-elect. Yeah, I think that's what I became in January. And our strategic plan that we're currently under is up. So this year is start planning our next one. And so I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about strategic planning to help get us a good plan going forward from here.
Okay. I think we have two more people in Virginia, Jonathan Tolbert and Susan Booth, but maybe you can't talk. So
I introduced them both. They said
okay, you did. Okay. Well, welcome and glad you could join us. And then I'll turn it over then to Rachel and Hallie, and then take it from there.
Yeah, and I don't know if Rachel's going to be able to come off mute. I think she's mostly listening in, but she may for her intro. Okay, she's off. She's on video. So, Rachel, you go first since you're coming in special for this.
Well, hello, Rachel Owen. I'm the managing director for NAAS, and I help with the TA grants and doing strategic plan facilitation with the states. This has been an incredible learning journey in the last year with the two states that I worked with, and I've really enjoyed this work. And yeah, I wanted to listen in today and be able to answer any questions about how the process looked this last year if needed. Yep, and that's it. I'm based in Champaign, Illinois. I was going to mention.
Yeah, and I'm Hallie Thompson. I'm the outreach director for NAAS. And similarly to Rachel, I get to work with academies on their TA grants, helping them through strategic planning and learning about the states they're located in, their organizations, and a path forward. So it's really, really cool work, and I'm excited to see how we can support all of you.
All right.
Great. Should I, is it back to me then?
Yes.
So it can be back to you. I'm happy to also introduce main session, Amanda, either way.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Hallie.
Okay. Yeah. So I think everybody knows we're here to talk about strategic planning, but just generally, what I'm hoping that we can do is talk a little bit about why strategic planning, probably keeping that section a little shorter. And maybe sharing some experiences. When we did this last year, which was our first year offering the TA grants to our affiliates, we shared personal stories from Amanda and Donna about strategic planning in their states. And we could do a quick version of that again, since we don't have full overlap of attendees. I wanted to make a decision on the fly, depending on who came. But also, I'm hoping that this year we can talk a bit more in the details about what the application looks like, and then more specifically, what it's going to look like when you're doing strategic planning. Since we're through 1 year, this is the second year and the final year. So we're really hoping to get our full 6 grantees this year. So without further ado, I mean, I would love to hear a little bit about strategic planning in Kentucky, Amanda. I know, this is something we know that our academies want. This is something that we heard in 2022 when we surveyed member academies. They said that they wanted strategic planning support. And when we've been doing coaching calls, or at least on my end, when I've been doing coaching calls as part of our Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation grant, I've heard from academies that this is super helpful too, just to talk about difficult issues, to have dialogue between staff and board, or just between volunteers that don't have the time to get together. And also to find alignment and then be clear on what those steps forward are. And that's across the board. It looks a little different depending on where you are. So I thought it would be helpful to hear some stories. And if others that are here, Marilyn, if you want to chime in, and if others in states I don't know about have experiences, love to hear some success stories about strategic planning.
Very great. I can do a very short version. I mean, I'm the biggest, I'll give somebody an earful about how much I like strategic planning, honestly. But, as Hallie and Rachel also, reinforced this year for us, like every organization is in a little bit of a different place, and it's going to look different for different for different groups that undertake it. My original experience when I first came on as the ED for the Kentucky Academy, I came on in 2014, and then somehow I must have talked my board into doing strategic planning in the following year in 2015. Once I had my feet under me, and I felt like it was really time for us to look at what we wanted to do with the organization. It was really great for me at that time because it provided me basically marching orders from the board so that I had things that I knew that I was going to be working on. I didn't have to go back and check with my board on everything I wanted to do, but I already knew from them, like, these are the things that we think are important. This is how you should spend your time. And then, to be able to check off those boxes as we went through the year and know what I could ask people for help with was very, very helpful. And then, what was really rewarding was, at the end of several years, we actually did manage to do the things that we said we were going to do. And I looked back at it, 4 years, 5 years later, and I said, we actually did all these things and it's time to do a new one. So that was really rewarding. I think our organization really hadn't done that before. And it was great. And so we did do it again. Marilyn was in that room a couple years ago now. Time flies, but I guess it was 22, and then it was for 2023 to 2026. So we are kind of getting at the end of that second cycle of our current plan. So that's my experience. And yeah, I would definitely just encourage states, if you have never done it. I mean, my experience was it really can be transformational in terms of giving you a sense of purpose. And we are in volatile times. And so I think a lot of us are really searching around for, like, what is our purpose? Where are we really poised to be most effective right now as scientists and scientific leaders in our states?
Thank you, Amanda. So I'll give a little perspective from Washington State, where I was executive director for 7.5 years. And when you meet an academy, you meet an academy. Everyone is different, has different origin stories, different, somewhat different goals and objectives. But I think there are some fundamentals that are kind of at a meta level. And just, I think strategic planning can be tailored to organizations and focus on really, I think, two areas. One is structural, like what does an academy need to have in place as an organization to meet its mission? And there are some very basic things that need to be done and can be done to set you up for success. And then there's sort of, once you have those in place, what direction are you going in? And so it's the role of a board of directors to, number one, understand what its role is. And it's different from being an advisory board. And I mention that because when I was doing work with within Washington State Academy, there were a lot of people on the board who were used to being advisory members, but they didn't quite understand the role of board of directors as a governance role. And it's really an important conversation to have to come to the understanding of what your roles and authorities are when you're working at that level. And so just having those conversations and a clear understanding among the board members about what their roles are is really illuminating. And therefore, what is your power to define what the mission is of the organization and the governance strategies, and then the very, maybe in my opinion, very few strategic priorities that you could be working on in a given period of time, as Amanda said. So it's a really rewarding activity that I think helps everyone who's making a commitment as a volunteer to an organization understand why they're there and where they're going.
Yeah, and awkwardly, Donna, I had you as the next session or section of this as well, talking about vision and bigger picture for NAAS as your role as president sort of guides that.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been involved with NAAS starting as a board member, and to be honest, I don't even remember when I started. It was somewhere around 2018 or 19. I joined it because I thought the name had the organization had the best name, National Association of Academies of Science. It was huge, and I was wondering how we could help realize that name. And fortunately, there are a lot of academies out there who were in a similar position. And then fortunately, Amanda succeeded to the presidency and kind of wrestled us all into shape. And we did a lot of really hard work and our own strategic planning, led by actually Hallie and Rachel, and we came out the other end in after some really intense conversations, but I think in a much better place with a lot more confidence about who we were as an organization, and then what place we wanted to be in the kind of landscape of all the things going on in America. And then about a year ago, things started to change where in the sense of the importance of subnational state level activities just became so much more seemingly, important and relevant. And here we have this collection of academies, each of which is serving their states in different ways. And how could we amplify, how could we make them all stronger so that we could potentially all work together? And so that's where we have positioned NAAS as a national organization committed to helping state academies be the best they can be for their state context. Fortunately, we got a grant from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, which Hallie will tell you more about. But there's, I think, momentum in the direction of strengthening state level organizations, of which we are one, and I would argue a really, really important one for the next, as we go into this next era.
I should have been ready. You queued me up. So to get into some of the more detailed nitty-gritty of the grant, I think that's why many of you are here, not necessarily to know about the overall, but it includes more than just strategic planning. It really is capacity building for all of our member academies, that we can get to sign up for coaching calls where they can talk through, board communication or, issues that come up as they arise, have a really deep conversation about it and get a few really near-term outcomes. Maybe just talk about something that you don't have anyone to bounce it off of in your state. And also it's a place where you can have kind of like a mini strategic planning or some technical assistance work done in those coaching calls too. There's a lot of different ways you can use them. The grant supports that 2 per year for all of our academies. And we so far have been underutilizing that and would love for 2026 to be different. We would love for everyone to utilize it as much as possible. We also are producing toolkits focused on different areas for the academies, including both external and internal topics. So it could be science policy, which was the first toolkit that we rolled out. We're also going to have a toolkit focused on strategic planning, sort of like mini strategic planning for academies, so that you don't have to hire someone every 3 years to do this if you can't afford it. It gives you a smaller, more bite-sized option that you can work through on your own. And then there are 2 or 3 other topics based on surveying, and we'll probably add more topics as we talk to academies and have coaching calls and things come up. Really like sharing governance best practices and helping academies ask questions. We're good at the science part. We have the experts in that, but sometimes the organizational development and some of those other questions are not as obvious. So really trying to support that side of things. But why we're all here today is to talk about technical assistant grants and talk about strategic planning. And that it's a massive part of this grant. I mean, we're going to work with hopefully 6 academies this year to produce strategic plans for them and have a full process starting hopefully early in the spring, where we kick off the strategic plan and wrapping up at the end of the year, late November, early December, where you should have a full report and implementation plan from your facilitator. And Rachel and I are going to be leading those through our firms again this year. So really excited to be able to work with academies. But we can get a little bit more into like what those deadlines look like and what the process looks like through your questions and the next session. But I'll let Amanda talk a little bit about some of the deadlines since she leads that through the Member Services Committee in her role.
Great. All right. Raw member services. This is the fun committee. This is where, this is the committee for extroverts. If you
come
really
join
like
us.
other people, come join us. if you like to talk to other people and help other people and ask questions and learn about what they're doing. That I love that committee. So yes, thanks to the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, this is the second year we've been able to offer these grants. And if you want to play along at home, I'm going to put the link there in the chat. And as Hallie said, we were planning to do 5 awards each year, but we only awarded 4 last year. So we have funding to award 6 in 2026. The $10,000 does not come in the form of cash. It comes in the form of services. So it's basically a technical assistance grant. We have these 2 wonderful facilitators, Rachel and Hallie, who work with our state academies. They have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. They really know the ins and outs of our state academies and are very astute in terms of questions they ask and, helping hold your hands and coach you along the way. So they are the people who we are entrusting to help you go through this process. The application is very straightforward. We've tried to make it as simple as possible. We want to know a little bit about where you are as an organization and how this will benefit you. And so we wanted to make that as simple and straightforward as possible. The grantee responsibilities are on this website. You are responsible financially. The only responsibility is really to cover the cost of local accommodations when you have your facilitator come for their in-person visit for your strategic planning retreat. So your academy needs to come up with that amount of money just to host them while they're there visiting you for that retreat. You need to be able to assemble your board, or if it's not your board, whoever the people are who are in charge of your strategic planning. I hope it's your whole board. And then I think most of the sessions are going to be virtual, but then, we do anticipate that you'll do one in person, and you need to, show us that your whole board is prepared to get together and do that. Part of this grant is also paying for representatives from your academy to participate in the National Conference of State Legislators Summit. This is something that maybe is new to a lot of folks who are leaders in state science organizations. It is just what it sounds like. It's, 9,000 people last year who are state legislators from all over the country. And a lot of other people participate who are not just the state legislators. It's a lot of folks in nonprofits, it's lobbyists, it's folks who are, subject matter experts and all kinds of nonprofit organizations. So it's a chance for you to understand a little bit more about how your state government works, meet some of your own legislators, talk to them about issues that maybe are interesting to you and hear what's on their minds. So that has been kind of a really eye-opening experience for some of us to go and visit and be part of that event. And your whole process, we think is, we're planning on it lasting about 11 months. We are making a little more time this year, stretching out that process, so making the deadline a little bit earlier so you have more time to work on your strategic plans. That was one thing that we learned in that first round, was that we probably need a little more time. So that's why the deadline is a little bit earlier this year. It's January 31st. And then we anticipate making those announcements in February as to who those awardees are. And then after you sign your grant agreement with us, you have until the end of 2026 to finish that work with Rachel and Hallie. Do you have any questions so far about the particulars? Anything I went over too quickly?
Yeah, I have one question. Okay, so you're talking about the deadline for submitted the proposal for that one is January 31st. That meaning it's only like 9 days left.
Yes.
And do you have a guideline for the proposal?
I'm sorry, January 30th. I'm sorry, it's January 30th.
January 30th. Okay, only like 1 week. Okay.
Right.
Do you have a guideline? So for example, you're talking about with the budget, somebody host a visitor, the academy, and also there's a budget for attending the summer whatever events over near the Chicago. So this year, so there's 2 bigger budgets.
Right. So you actually don't need to submit a budget for this application.
Okay.
We are not awarding you cash. We are basically reimbursing all your expenses to go and participate in this event in Chicago. So that's
Mm.
not handling any cash on your part. And then the services that our consultants are providing you in the strategic
Yeah.
planning process, that's also not cash award, like we pay them directly.
Okay.
So it's a very straightforward application. It's only a few questions. They're essay questions.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. So if you can,
Yeah.
you can give us a link after this academic chat so we can access. And I have two more questions. One question is, someone who should sign the proposal is the current president of academic science need a sign,
Great
right?
question. Great question. Whose name should be on that? Who should actually submit that
Yeah.
application? If it's your president, that's great. If it's another officer, that's also fine. One of the questions in that application is about who is involved and what is the level of commitment of the different people. Is your whole board knowledgeable about this? Are they on board with it? Are they supportive of it? Have you all talked about it and you have an idea of why it's important and what you want to do? If it's only one person submitting it and they haven't talked to anybody else, that's not as strong of an application, right? We really want to know that your organization can muster a critical mass of participants, so that you get a strong process, and you get a good product out of your strategic plan.
Oh, that's wonderful. So because I already discussed the whole board about this, and they say,
Yes.
oh, we are interested, but also after this episode, I will become president for this NCS. Maybe I need to check the other questions and also other questions. And then if I have any other questions, I will ask Holly directly. Okay, so then most likely I will sign my name because I already get a permit from our board for NCS.
Right.
Thank you so
And
much.
everybody has, go ahead. Yeah, sorry about that.
Last question. So
Yeah.
can we hire some kind of students working on strategic plan, just a very small amount of hours?
Are there students? Are you asking,
A
can you
lot.
pay students?
Yeah, very few hours because our North Carolina Academic Science try to hire some part-time students, very limited hours, because they provide the students intern opportunity, especially for
Okay.
the science advocacy, whatever those things.
Okay. I
Is that
think probably
possible?
as part of, I don't know that this grant would cover any
Yeah.
hours for you to pay somebody out of this money, out of this award. We don't really have that in
Okay.
our budget. But if you have your own money and you're paying students to work on something that would be related to it, that might be
Yeah.
something good to mention in your application. If you all have funds already committed to that purpose, that might actually be a good thing to mention and explain to us what that is about.
Yeah, so let me figure out because somebody tell me that there's somebody find some students working for them a little bit, so not a big money, but anyway, I will ask them for sure. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Amina. This is my
Okay,
question.
yeah. Yeah, and so the link as Hallie just put in the chat, the link for the application is on that website that I just pointed you to. So you can open it up and you can scan through and see what those questions are, if
Okay,
you're interested.
so Holly, can you email attach to me because email me the link because usually I cannot download any link from the Zoom. So
Oh, okay.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
we can
Sure.
send the link out to everyone.
Okay, thank you
As
so
a
much.
follow-up, yeah, we'll point you to the recording from this session and we can point you to where the application is. The timeline is also up there. And so, yeah, just to say again, the application deadline is January 30th. We are gonna review them and then make announcements in February, at the end of February, have you sign your grant agreements, and then you have from March to the end of November to do your strategic planning. Our consultants will work with you on scheduling that. There will be some virtual sessions before your actual in-person retreat. So they will figure out with you what the best timing is for you. Like if nobody's around in the summertime, you need to work around that schedule. There's a question on the application about that too. Like if you already have a timeline in mind, if your board has talked about it and you know, like we absolutely can't do anything in July or August, let us know what your constraints are, or if you have an event already planned that you want to incorporate it into, just let us know that on the application. It's good to see that you've thought it through. July is also that NCSL event in Chicago at the end of July. One other thing that I'll just put in your ears too, we are planning, it's not public yet, but we're also planning a special day for our Academy leaders right before this NCSL summit in Chicago, on that Saturday, the 25th. We're going to have a sort of summit for state Academy leaders. And so we'll be telling you more about that soon. But if you want to mark off your calendars for July 25th, that's something we're very excited about. We just got a little bit of money to help us put that on for you all too. So that's another thing I'll just mention as an aside. Then November 30th, your final report will consist of a full strategic plan, if you have that, whatever that looks like. And then we'd also love to hear some feedback from you about the process. So any commentary you have, good, bad, and ugly about that process, can also be part of that final report.
Yeah, and this year we did an Academy chat in December. Some of you were there, focused on feedback from the grantees. So learning about their process, hearing, things that went well, things that could have gone better, just trying to teach each other.
Okay. Should I talk about the criteria? Can we go on to that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless there's any questions, do we want to pause just for a moment?
Yeah. Any more questions? Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, we want to see in your answers to those application questions, we want to see that you have leaders in your organization who are committed to the process. We want to see that you're that it's the right time for you, that your circumstances are lining up right, and that this is good. It's good for your organization to do this right now. We are giving preference to organizations with smaller budgets. If you have a $3 million budget, you probably can handle this process on your own. So we are committed to giving 6 awards, but if we get, a lot of applications, we're going to prioritize or just, bring them up to the top of the queue, the ones that have lower budgets, because we think it's more of an impact for those organizations. And on a similar note, if your organization is small budget and you don't have any staff, but you're interested in hiring some staff, that's a capacity building thing that we're very interested in supporting. So if that's where you are in your organization, please tell us that. The purpose of all of this is capacity building. So anything your organization is doing to build capacity, or that you see the strategic planning as part of that, please tell us that.
Yeah. Amanda, Craig raised his hand. Is this an okay time to pause?
Sure. Yes.
For
Hi.
a question?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the Virginia Academy of Science does have what looks like a pretty big budget, but most of it is endowed funds that we can't use for anything but like grants and scholarships and awards. So
Okay.
so just keep that in mind, right? I mean,
And tell us that. Yes, please
Right.
tell us that in your application. We have had other people tell us things like that before too. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We understand that everybody has different kinds of operations and things in their budget. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, and I think we are asking you to upload maybe your 990 from your most recent year. I think that was one of the things on the application. So yeah, any commentary that we need to know around that, please share. We do need your organization to be current, a current member, a current affiliate of NAAS, and you can renew that today or tomorrow if you haven't done that yet. It's, pretty affordable to renew those dues. If we have seen you before, if you've been engaged with our organization, that's also, some marks in your favor. Yeah. Just
Also, Amanda, so have you guys submitted the invoice for the paid due yet for this year?
the invoices.
Yeah.
Yes. For FY, the current fiscal year, yes, there was last spring or summer.
July, I think those usually go out in the summer. Our fiscal year is June to May, so usually you get an invoice in July, and it goes through basically like the academic year, basically.
Okay. So how about the North Carolina Academic Science? They already pay If
I'm
not,
pretty
I'll
sure,
ask.
yeah, we can check it
Okay.
later if you want us to just check to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are not sure, that would be a great thing for us to check for you, is to make sure that your dues are paid.
Yeah, I'll just
Definitely
want to
check for
ensure.
any of
So
you.
I will
We can
ensure
check for
we will.
anybody who needs to.
Yeah, we will pay for that for sure. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Great. And then another thing that we're going to be interested in hearing from you, if your board has been exploring any options or interest in doing any science policy advising, please tell us that. We're interested to know if that's something that you're curious about learning more about or building capacity to do. Some of you are aware of the Science and Technology Policy Fellows programs that are emerging in states. Some of your states are specifically chartered to do science policy advising. Some of you may have partnerships with other organizations and have been involved in policy work with your, through your relationship with AAAS or Sigma Xi or NSPN or some other kind of organization. Yeah, anything like that. Our funder, the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, is very interested specifically in building capacity in states to do more science policy advising. So this is something that is very much on their radar. And, they want to hear if any of our states, many of our states, as are interested in doing more of that, they want to hear about that and they want to support it. So that's another thing that we're looking for information about on your application. You're certainly, you don't have to have that. You're not ineligible if you're not doing that. But maybe the strategic planning process, if you haven't ever thought about it before, that strategic planning process can also be a place to learn more about that and explore whether that's something that fits in with your mission and your operations. Any other questions about criteria? Questions, concerns?
Yeah, let me ask you one more question again. Okay, so we'll ask a question again. And to my understanding, so we still have a vacancy for the committee chair for the strategic plan. And once North Carolina Academy of Science, and we are weak in that particular area. And I remember back to 10 to 15 years ago, we made the same kind of a scientific policy announcement and I tried to, working with the state level, assembling people. It was a long time ago. And 8 years ago, I nominated my colleague became a committee chair for strategic plan, but she was not very active. So I think we need to find a very strong person to do that. So I just want to let you know what our situation is. But once I took over the North Carolina Academy of Science, I think we need our organizations need a strong thing for this particular area for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I mean, it may be that, yeah, there is like a general interest and there isn't somebody who's a point person for that right now. And that's okay. We're interested in hearing that from you. And if that's something that is on your radar to build capacity to do more of that, tell us. Tell us.
I talked with our board regarding with our annual meeting. So we try to introduce a workshop from the science advocacy from the Union of Concerned Scientists people.
Yes.
They agree with me last year, but a couple of days ago I emailed them. I'm still waiting for them because I was informed that we scheduled them as a part of our annual meeting. They will host a 1-hour workshop in our annual meeting.
Okay.
But I'm still waiting for that response from them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah, they're another organization that does some really great policy work and training for scientists. So that would be another great partnership to mention. Should we actually look at the application form, Hallie? Were you wanting to open that up and go through the questions if people want to?
I didn't have that on my list. This, I think, was
Okay.
driven by needs of attendees. So yeah, I would be curious if that would be helpful for folks. Maybe give a thumbs up if that sounds helpful.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, you all can also click on it and look at it yourselves. And if there's anything particular on there that you see or have questions about, you can, feel free to just ask a question. We try to make it as painless as possible. these are going to be blinded. The applications will be blinded. We have reviewers lined up on our board members from organizations that we know are not applying for the grants. And our wonderful staff do a great job for us of giving us a nice spreadsheet with all the application information with everything redacted that is identifying information from you. And I have to say it was a very good process last year of reviewing those. I thought I knew who they were, and I was wrong about every single one of them, but I thought I knew who they were. And I feel like I know the state academies as well as anybody right now. So it was really, yeah, it was illuminating. I was really glad to just read what you all had to say.
Are there any other questions that are about your ability to apply, what timelines look like, anything else we can answer? Otherwise, we may just go through the application. Amanda, if you can share a screen. But if anyone has anything right now, go ahead and come off mute or put it in the chat, either way.
I have a question. A lot of you have executive directors, and so we do not, and many of the states do not. So what do you feel are the potential for us to really be able to benefit from this if we don't have a real person on task running the whole thing, as opposed to an all volunteer board who all have jobs all the time? So what's been your experience with the success of your grant program with that?
Yeah, I think Rachel and I both could talk to this because we each worked with, well, I guess both of your academies don't have staff that you worked with. Okay. Well, I worked with one, and I felt like the process was fine. I think just being really clear on who the point person is on the board, and making sure that they are prepared, to spend more hours than usual, responding to emails, especially coming from me and from people that are working on interviews. I also think just having a really engaged board and distributing work across that board where you can is really important for those volunteer only organizations. And the group I worked with in Arkansas did a really good job of that. They each took on their little part of it, and it's going to look different, I think, depending on your board. So have that conversation, I think, beforehand. And hopefully, you or someone else who's a leader on the board can lead and find the strengths of people on your board and what they can do as part of it. Rachel, what was your experience?
Yeah, I think just to build on that, so both of the academies I worked with this year were all volunteer led. Both of them would like to have some sort of part-time staff. And so one of the things that we talked about in strategic plan was how we could set up the roadmap in phases to say, like, initially you're going to have this period of time where you are working with all volunteers so that and this is like, we're not going to make this overwhelming. These are the tangible things that we need to do in that first phase to get to to start implementing the strategic plan and get to a point where we may be able to hire first, like, some very limited, part-time contract support, and then maybe long-term, like a part-time or a full-time executive director. If that's not of interest to you, I think that we can absolutely work with that as well. One of the organizations I worked with this year, they are dividing things up with working committees on their board. And so they're essentially rearranging the way that their board functions between meetings so that they have working committees that are tackling each of the strategic plans. And then I think just one other comment related to this is that when you do have a resource, like a time resource limited board, I think that's all the more reason to really have a clear understanding of what it is that's most important for you to be doing. One of the academies I worked with, everybody on their board was so siloed into the work that they did for the organization, and they weren't really thinking about how that work all fit together to advance the organization. Mm-hmm. And simply thinking about the strategic plan and thinking about the direction that they're going in over the next few years, I think allowed them to see that, oh, maybe we can make a few tweaks to how our board functions in order to try to amplify the work that each of us is doing individually. So that strategic plan, and just even the process of sitting everybody down in a room and having everybody share things that they're doing that they may not normally do, is, I think, a really helpful exercise for volunteer boards.
Other questions? I'm seconding Rachel's point. I felt like it was a great team building exercise. It was so fun to watch.
I might also add that, that question, Deb, would be a good one for a coaching call. If you're specifically looking for like, how do we raise ten or $15,000 so we can hire a part-time person, or whatever your goals are, like that's a very discrete small thing that you could tackle in a coaching call. We have some fundraising tools in a toolkit online, and I think Rachel and Hallie would be really wonderful people to bounce ideas off of and really help you find a couple things, even outside of a strategic planning process, if that's something that you all want to dig into.
Did that answer your question, Deb?
There we go. Unmute. Yeah, I just wanted to know, and I think one thing that I picked out of all of this were the coaching calls, and also you do have resources online that I was not aware of. And that's my personal thing for not digging into the website. So that is something that I could even share with the board there, that look what's available out there, and you're not just someone that we pay dues to. That it is a partnership, and there is a resource out there for us to become more aware of. My president-elect is a professor at a university, and her president-elect is a professor at a different university. So they know how that kind of system works. And so it'll be nice to introduce the depth of resources that you have, which I was unaware of. And that's my fault for not looking at it. It's not yours. So now I know. So thank you. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate it.
Well, and thank you. I'm glad we got that on tape, because now we have a lovely testimonial that we can pull out and share with others.
And
I'm
Amanda, I
glad
think
you
that
appreciate it. I'm glad it's useful.
to increase the awareness that there is this opportunity for a call just to get us started. I think Deb got us going just in her question here. That may be something that fits us, a group like ours that's struggling just to do our regular activities, to add this on. So we need that increment before the grant would have the real effect. So that was a great interchange there. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wondering, the coaching call is before the deadline of the proposal or after?
I think it's going to be hard to get a coaching call scheduled in the next 7 days, but it's likely we could have, like, if you apply and then we try to schedule a coaching call before your process gets up and running, and probably sometime in March, that's a possibility. Like, we could have a conversation with the full board about expectations and stuff then. However, this is something that you can have on a different topic, that's, parallel to what's happening with the strategic plan. But yeah, 7 days. It's unlikely we find a time that works for very many groups in that time period.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, they can be scheduled at your convenience.
There's an intake form on the website, and I put it in the chat, I believe, earlier. If folks can't find it, I can put it in again. I'll pop it in again. It's way back.
Great. Okay, well, I mean, if you all feel like we should go through the application questions, I'm happy to do that. You can click the link and open it yourselves and see if there's anything you specifically want to ask about, but they are pretty straightforward questions, and so I don't want to go through it with all of you unless if you want to, we can. But I did touch on some of the things that we're asking you about in the application form.
All right. Well, Amanda, I didn't have any other content prepared. I dropped the coaching call link in the chat. If you all have any other questions too, you can email us at admin@academiesofscience.org, and I'll pop that in the chat again just so you have it. But yeah, that's a great place for questions about this application process, coaching call process, general questions, whether or not you're a member. That's a great place to direct it. Yeah. And even, little things. Hey, I think this resource would be really helpful. I noticed it wasn't on your website. I think it would be really cool to have something, whatever that topic is. Also really helpful. And I'm always looking for new ideas about Academy chats. So coming up, we're going to have an Academy chat every month for the rest of the year and into 2027. I'm not thinking about that yet though. And I have topics for a few of the months, but not for every month. And so sourcing those ideas from our members is one of the best ways. We're responding directly to your needs and your interests. And so don't hesitate to reach out.
Hey, Haley, this is Craig. One of the things I might say is one of the major things we did, or I mostly did over the last 6 months, is we adopted Memberleap to manage our membership and our webpage and everything at the Virginia Academy of Science, and it's been fantastic. I mean, it's just night and day compared to like trying to manage these things with a spreadsheet or WordPress or something like that. And it is a little bit pricey compared to the other kludges you can use to manage these things, but the efficiency that I think it's going to bring us in the long term. I don't know if that's something that you might want to do on one of these coaching calls, is really like kind of the experience of that. Because I mean, for our undergraduate research meeting this fall, we used it for registration. They could submit their proposals right there. The judges could score all the proposals right there in the Memberleap system, and it was just great compared to what we'd done in the past. So, and just keeping track of the membership. I mean, it's the power that you have there, and to be able to send just messages out to different committees, or the full membership, or just the students, or whatever. I mean, all of that is just one click now, and I'm hoping that at least the leadership is going to really benefit from that of the academy. But I'm hoping more and more of the committees and sections take advantage of it too, because it's great. And if people didn't know about that, I mean, the thing is, it's like a membership platform that's exactly what you want as an academy, in the sense that like you can set up different communities on there, like different scientific sections or different committees, and they have their own little area where the members involved in those things are listed and can communicate with each other, and those things are nice. And it also is a pretty nice way to manage the web page too. So it kind of took all of these different services we were using and just replaced them with one thing.
I'm glad it's useful for you, Craig. Yeah, we love it. We use it for NAAS, and I use it in Kentucky, so I'm glad it's been helpful for you.
Craig, one more, actually two more things about Memberleap. If you dig into it, you will find that the Memberleap voting applications to do online voting are particularly robust and secure. That's the first thing I want to tell you. And the second thing is that you can get a Memberleap app. And so if you are holding annual meetings or other types of meetings, you can have Memberleap build you a separate app that once it's built, it's not a nominal charge. It's like a $2,000 charge to do the initial programming on it. But after that, then who's ever administrating your Memberleap can make continual changes to that app, and you can push out information, say, to somebody at a conference.
Okay. Yeah.
The Memberleap app is very robust.
Good to know. I mean, it just for ideas, I mean, it might be worth a chat sometime. I could talk about it for a long time.
No, I like that idea. I put it in the chat, and we'll try to incorporate it in the schedule. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you.
Brad?
So just as a clarification on that, it's a $2,000 or so charge to initially set up the app, and then do you have to keep paying? Is there an annual cost?
No, it's a one-time, because we just paid this at NAAS. There's a one-time charge to set up the app that you pay to MemberLeap. That ours was about $2,000. I don't know how their fee structure works, but it's going to be in that range. And then it's set up for life.
Okay. We just switched to MemberLeap last year. We have generally liked it. We did not go so far as to do the app because we kind of making enough changes already, just switching platforms. But if it's only a one-time charge, that might be more worth thinking about than we had initially thought, because I thought it was going to be several thousand up front and then probably a few more every year. But
no, it's a one-time setup, and then who's ever the MemberLeap administrator or administrator plural can go in anytime, day or night, and make changes to that. And of course, that will instantaneously update information on people's iPads and cell phones and such. And you can also do push notifications with that app. If you'd like to see an example of the NAAS AJAS app, I can show you how to get to it. You can download it and see it in a minute.
Sure, why not?
Anybody, do we want to do this right now? It doesn't take very long. Or do you want to do it offline?
Let's do it offline, but I mean,
okay.
I would be interested in checking it out. But I think even networking the different state academies that are using MemberLeap so that they could, even if it wasn't a chat, so that we could meet sometime and just talk about what works good for us and what we know how to do, and features we might like. I mean, for example, they do charge to add features, but if multiple academies wanted the same feature, we could potentially share the cost of adding that or something. So I think like there could be room to make this a more powerful tool for us.
Brad and Craig, if you want to stay on after this session ends, I can show you that app very quickly.
Okay.
Okay. Someone will need to transfer when this is all done.
There's a topic I would like to hear about at some point between now and the end of the year. One of our major programs, as is y'all's, is the Junior Academy of Science. And that's very important to us. We spend a lot of time and energy and effort on it. And I'd just like to know how other people conduct theirs, because we've got the "we've always done it that way" syndrome going. So I'd kind of like to hear from other people to see if there's a way that we can improve the way we go about it, or maybe what we do would be good for you. So at some point, that would be nice to hear about. Just to throw a timeline out, we have our state competition in April. So we're already in the motion and moving through it and getting the regional competitions and things going. So if we couldn't get it before April, maybe it's something later in the year we could talk about in preparation for the next year. But that's a big program for us. It's something we really believe in and we spend a lot of time and effort on. So you could note that.
How many students are you sending to Phoenix?
I never heard from our state director as to who he wanted to send. So as far as I know, there's no one going on it, which is kind of a sad thing, because we did contact the state director, but he's also a professor at the university. And as you know, all kinds of things going on, but I didn't hear anything back. So we may be not sending anyone. And that's coming up, what, in 2 weeks?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking. I could contact him again today and see what he says.
Well, registration for that is almost certainly closed at this point.
Okay.
But Deb, in answer to your original question, how do other states do it? Every state does it differently.
Mm-hmm.
There are no two state or regional academies who have the same type of program to send students to the AJAS, and there's no two state academies who have similar funding processes to send students. It ranges from pay everything to pay nothing.
Right. And I think, and I've clicked on that link and I'll look that up, but we've got the Intel Science, International Science and Engineering Fair, and we've got the State Science Fair, which this is not what we do, is Science Fair. We've got a STEM engineering one coming out of the universities. And so there are competing things. So I was interested, we feel like ours is more in depth and more realistic in what it's asking, as opposed to a volcano backboard science fair kind of thing. So, I mean, and that's what you start at, right? And then you move into it. We feel like we're, higher up the food chain on that, but I'd like to see what the criteria is for others. So I clicked on your chat link, and I will star that and go back and look at it. And then perhaps next month I can have more questions that are specifically focused after I read what you've already done.
Yeah, as long as you understand that the AJS is not a science fair.
No.
There are no test scores, grades. No one wins. It's an educational experience.
Yeah. So, and it's one of our big programs that we do around the state of New Mexico. And we've got a director and regional people, and the kids come year after year to do that. And they're very excited to do it. I was just looking to see what else is out there. But again, let me read what you've already read and already said, so I can have a more educated question next time. But I have made a mention to talk to Tito, and it sounds like it's too late anyway this year, which is kind of a shame because you're right next door. But we'll try and get it put together for next year. So thank you. Thank you for your information.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. This has been a great conversation and great questions from all of you. If you think of other things or things come up for you in the process of applying, it's admin@academiesofscience.org is the place to send those questions. And yeah, thank you for your interest. We are really delighted to bring this program to you, and glad you want to take advantage of it. I did also post a link to a survey, which we built in MemberLeap, where you can tell us whether this session was helpful and useful or not, and any other suggestions you have. So that survey link is in the chat, and we appreciate your feedback as always. And thank you for all these great suggestions for future programs. I appreciate it. Everybody have a good weekend. Stay warm, stay safe.